Well, that manufacturer told me that he believes that the disruption to the supply chain could last till April.
Sebastian Krobok expected to reopen his Beijing motorcycle factory today. Instead, it's 10 in the morning and he's at home with his dog.
It's nice to be at home, but this is too long.
Like most businessmen in China, Krobok was planning to start production after the Lunar New Year holiday. But because of the spreading coronavirus, he's stuck trying to manage his company Evoke from his apartment. Krobok has depended on the thousands of workers at this facility to build his motorcycles for the past 2 years. From here, the bikes are shipped all over the world, including to the U.S. The authorities here have imposed new prevention measures that companies have to meet, like installing showers, isolation rooms, and appointing staff to monitor workers' health.
You have to have it or you don't open the door. That's pretty much how it is.
He's not sure when that will happen.
Chinese workforce is a migrant workforce. And majority of that workforce comes from the places like Wuhan, Hubei, Harbin, and so forth. And those guys won't get here at least for until the end of the month.
In the meantime, he and his partners had to delay the launch of a new motorcycle they had planned for this month. When do you think you're going to reopen?
Fingers crossed Friday, but you never know.
And the virus is affecting Krobok's business planning. He said that he and his partners have a facility in India, but now they're talking about accelerating their expansion plans there. Contessa?
So, Eunice, how reluctant are people to go see a doctor now, even for like cold symptoms or for injuries that they might experience?
They're pretty reluctant. I think for the most part, if you can avoid going to the hospital, the thinking here is avoid it. So there are a lot of people personally who I've spoken to or who online have discussed how they have a cough, but they don't actually want to go to the hospital. Instead, if you have a serious fever, then maybe you'd go. But in China, and especially these days, there are more regulations about how you're criminally liable if you don't actually go to the hospital and get a high fever checked out. One other interesting phenomenon, Contessa, that's also happening is that there's a surge online of people seeking medical advice and also doctors offering their advice. They're offering their advice for as little as $5 US, which is a lot here, but for a consultation fee, but not necessarily in the United States, obviously. But people are doing it because they want to be able to get themselves, in some ways, almost self-diagnosed, or at least self-diagnosed with the aid of a doctor, sure, to try to avoid going to the hospital to the extent that they can.
I can see the traffic behind you, Eunice. As people start to talk about going back to work now, I'm curious how they're going to make sure that people are not sick.
Yeah, it's really difficult, especially here in Beijing, where there are a lot of migrant workers who end up coming here to work. But there have been even more restrictions put in place. For example, in the apartment complex where I live and also the compound where the office is, there are even greater temperature checks. So more frequent temperature checks. They've also been checking our security passes to make sure that we actually belong to those compounds.